Here's the problem. I have a topic that I want to rant and rave about, that it's easy for me to rant and rave about when nobody's watching me, but as soon as I try to turn the camera on and rant and rave about it, my own voice, the being able to see myself, all of this stuff, as usual, shuts me up and I can't think of a word of what on earth I wanted to say. It is so frustrating when that happens. Even though her face is on the screen right in front of me, making me mad enough to want to rant and rave about it again because it boils my blood so badly when this happens on TV. Constant, constant, constant. How many ways are there to make a completely accidental misunderstanding that can make everybody's life miserable for years? There are so many ways to create scenarios like that in real life. It happens, and there's so many ways to do it in a story if you wanted to do it. But no, the vast majority of shows have to do it. There's a miscommunication that's done on purpose, and the person's life is miserable, and you're supposed to feel so sorry for them, and your heart's supposed to be breaking as you watch them sob their eyes out because it's so sad, and they had such a hard life too, and I'm so worked about this that Aska just jumped off the couch to come and see what's wrong with me. I am ranting and raving because I'm really mad. It makes me really, really mad. Can you hear her? She only did it once so far. She only meowed once, but... And you're supposed to feel so sorry for this person as they cry their eyes out on the screen because, as she just said, you weren't the only one that had a hard life. It is not the same. It is just not the same. And I am so sick of shows making it look like it's the same. 9 years ago, when they were in high school, something happened. Something horrible happened. I am not picking the guy's side just because he's the guy. I'm literally not. My brother asked me once why I'm so much harder on the women characters than I am on the men. And I'm like, okay, sometimes I think I'm unfairly hard on the women and I have no idea why. But I also know it's an absolute fact that TV has a really bad habit of continually losing certain stereotypes among the women that just drive me insane. And there are certain things I wouldn't forgive, whether it was the man or the woman that did it, but for some reason, it's always the women that do it in the shows. Therefore, it's always the women I'm mad at. See, this is how upset I am that Aska actually just jumped up in my lap to find out what's wrong with me. I can't calm down. I can't calm down because this drives me insane. And I started the video, so I have to finish the video and you get to hear me. You should be able to tell in my voice how angry I am. What was I saying? Hey, back in high school, this horrible thing happened. And it was a complete misunderstanding, right? His life was completely destroyed. Completely destroyed. He got expelled for school. Everybody that used to consider him a hero now consider him the worst person on the planet. All but 2 of his friends completely rejected him. His own sister is after him because it doesn't even matter whether he did it or not. The point is now he's expelled, and look at how hard our life is going to be now, all because of him. And his mother believes him, but she's extremely disappointed and sad, and of course she'd be upset because her son just got expelled in his last year of high school. And all of this stuff, and of course it's a Korean drama, and over there it's a much bigger deal to be a dropout of high school than it is over here. It really is. His life is destroyed. No other school would accept him. His mother tried to get him into other schools, but because of what happened, it was this massive misunderstanding. There's only 2 people that witnessed it. One is the person that almost died and claimed it was him that did it. And one is the girl that was supposed to be, they were basically a couple. They were all but they officially said the word boyfriend and girlfriend. They had been building up a relationship. They cared about each other. Or supposedly. She supposedly cared about him. But then, just before this, a secret of hers had gotten out, and as far as she knew, he was the only one that knew that secret. Therefore, if it got out, it had to have been him that let it out. So she's all hurt and betrayed because somebody else told her that he was the one that did this. She never went and talked to him about it. Not Once. She just kind of playing completely flipped out, decided it had to be true that he was the one that told all of this, so therefore all of this is his fault because he's the one that did that, and how dare he pity her, and all whatever, etc., etc. Her hard life, her hardships, her heartbreak was 100% her fault. She refused to go and talk to him. Supposedly, there's all these reasons why it just didn't work out, that she couldn't go and talk to him because this horrible accident that happened afterward happened right after that. She didn't have a chance to talk to him before this horrible accident happened. But then she's all like, oh, I'm so heartbroken. I should have just lied and said that's not what I heard. No, girl, you don't have to flip all the way to the other end of the scale of lying about what you heard. You just gotta go and talk to him and find out what actually happened. He's like, why? 9 years later, he meets her and he's like, again, something happens and she just walks in and decides whatever. She doesn't ask him and she's about to walk out and he's like, why? 9 years ago and right now. Why won't you ask me? Why won't you ask me what happened? She goes, huh, and walks out and goes, why on earth would I ask him? What would I do that for? She is so prideful and so self-centered and so whatever else that she refuses to go and talk to him. And then, oh, poor me, all heartbroken, all sad. My whole life has been because everything had happened and I should have just lied and it's all my fault that he got kicked out and then all this happened and I should... No, you should have just gone and talked to him. Communication. Like he has said numerous times, if it was you that I thought that happened to, I would have been behind you because I would have known that is not something you would do, so something must have happened, so I would have been asking you what on earth happened. Exactly! He is clueless! The thing that she thinks he did not do. The secret that everybody all of a sudden found out, and that she was all horrified because everybody found out this secret. He is not the one that let that secret out. He has no idea whatsoever 9 years later that happened. And she thinks he did because she thinks it was him that did it without ever asking him if it was him that did it. How it happened. Nothing. She never asked him. She assumed. Completely 100% assumed that it was him that did it just because someone told her it was him that did it. She never asked him. All of this is her fault. So I'm supposed to feel so sorry for her and feel so horribly heartbroken because poor her is so heartbroken. And here's the thing. She's putting it on the same level as what happened to him. His life was destroyed. He was expelled from school. Everybody thinks he's an attempted murderer. All of the rest of this stuff. He's got a deadbeat job. And like whatever, like he's this fake, like he can't get a really good high paying whatever job. He has to work way harder than he should have to make money and all the rest of this kind of stuff. And then on top of that, even right now, he's trying to live out his life and whatever and just be like over there quietly doing his thing, and people have their fingers in his life again, messing it all up and using him to get their own gain and glory and whatever. So again, 9 years later, now all of a sudden they're again got their fingers in his life and controlling and trying to decide what he can do. And she thinks because of her assumed whatever, she thinks that, oh, you're not the only one that had a hard life, you know, poor pitiful me has been crying all by myself, heartbroken, unable to trust anybody ever again in my life, all because of you. He didn't do anything to her. That was 100% her own assumption and refusal to have communication with him. It is not the same thing. He did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. And the fact that he's supposedly someone that she had feelings for, someone that she kissed, someone that she was willing to be the girlfriend of, she liked him that much. She was supposed to be so close to him, and after, like, everything and all the rest of that stuff, pretty much boyfriend and girlfriend, and yet the second anything comes up, okay, she started off, are you sure he would have said that? That doesn't sound like him. And 2 seconds later, it's like, yep, no, it was definitely him. It was absolutely him. He wasn't even in the room. The guy comes out of the room and says he's in there and just said something. He's not even in the room. She did not even look through the window to find out if he's even in the room. He was not even there. And she has now up and decided that he's the one that said this, and therefore everything is entirely his fault. That poor pitiful her has lived for 9 years of sadness. I can't. I just can't when dramas do this. This is just no. And if she doesn't get on her knees and apologize for everything she's put him through by the end of this drama, then she will be on my list of hated characters that will forever and always be on my hated list characters. Because the whole topic of forgiveness and all the rest of that kind of stuff, how that is supposed to work and how it never works in dramas, that's a whole nother video that I already filmed at another point, and I'm going to have to try to refilm again because I was crying through like the whole thing because it makes me so mad. So upset and so mad because so many people get it so horribly wrong, and it is such an important topic and nobody ever gets it right. And this kind of drama is headed in the same direction where the same type of thing is going to happen, because he is probably the one that's going to end up having to apologize to her because she's the one that's so heartbroken. And don't you know that her heartbreak is so much more important than his, even though hers is 100% self-inflicted, whereas his was completely foisted on him. His life was destroyed out of his control. Because if he knew what his accusations were, he would have said, dude, that wasn't me, and he would have set the record straight. But it was taken completely out of his control because no one will even tell him what he supposedly did wrong. Oh, if you don't know, then that's your fault. No, maybe it wasn't him and you're the one that's wrong, and you should be telling him so that he can be like, dude, what the crap? But no, you're just going to assume that he totally knows and it's totally his fault that you've been heartbroken for 9 years. So, yeah, I just yelled at you for like 12 minutes. This is how worked up I get. This is one of the topics that I get so worked up about because it drives me insane, and shows do this all the time. Somebody completely 100%, or even if it's only 90%, it's their own fault that they've become heartbroken. And so regularly, it is the woman that does this. All the time, it is the female character that somewhere along the line, there's some miscommunication, because the same thing happened in Wolf Prince, which is the one that I was ranting and raving about and crying about because of the whole forgiveness thing. She did that to herself in Wolf Prince. She did it to herself. She didn't ask him when she should have asked him, because it was a stupid thing to assume, because she knew him better than that. They even made the point earlier of her knowing him better than that. And yet she sees this, gets all emotional, and decides she knows what's happening without ever asking him. And a whole year later, it's still entirely 100% his fault, and he's the one that has to end up down on his knees begging for forgiveness for her, because now she's going through all these hardships and whatnot because of him, when it was her fault. In this one and in Wolf Prince, in both of them, it was their own assumption. They refused to go and talk to the guy about it. It was not the guy's fault in any way, shape, or form. He did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong in both cases. And yet, if they take it to that level where he's the one that's going to have to apologize for her and understand her heartbreak and comfort her and make her feel better because it was her that suffered so horribly for 9 years, when it's literally him that had literally this like total trauma foisted on him of somebody trying to commit suicide right in front of him and pinning it on him like it was him that actually tried to kill the guy instead of the guy just committing suicide in front of him. That's what happened to him. And just because of a misunderstanding before that, and then she hears something, and because she's already got this filter on of this other thing that didn't happen, she up and decides she knows what's happening, refuses to even, why would I ask you what happened? I saw with my own eyes. No, she didn't. I heard with my own ears part of it. She's dead wrong, and yet it's his fault. They always do this in dramas, and in 98% of the time, if maybe 95% of the time, maybe I'll be fair and say it's only 95% of the time, it's the woman that does it. And you want to know why I'm so hard on the female characters. This is one of the main reasons why I'm so hard on the female characters, because regularly it's their fault that they're heartbroken, 100%, or at least 90%, their fault that they're heartbroken, and yet they always foist it on the guy, and the show never corrects it. It always stays the guy's fault, and he's the one that has to apologize. Well, she just sits there because a woman cries. All of a sudden, the guy has to get on his knees and beg for forgiveness. The woman can do no wrong. As soon as her heart's broken, it's always the guy's fault, no matter how much of the girl's fault it actually is. Even if it was not the guy's fault in any way, shape, or form, it's still his fault because her heart's broken, so it's always the guy's fault. You want to know why I hate female characters so much? Why I'm so hard on female characters? This is one of the biggest reasons. Because they're constantly doing this. So there you go. 15 minutes of me ranting and raving, angry. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't post this online. Maybe I should do it more methodically. Maybe I should do it more understandingly. I don't know. I'm like looking at her face right now. Her poor heartbroken face with tear trying to escape. And I just want to throw her off a cliff. Just throw her off the cliff. Throw her off the building. Get rid of her. Hang her by the toes. Give up on her, guys. She doesn't deserve you. She does not deserve him. She doesn't deserve him at all. Nope. Until she gets on her knees and begs for forgiveness for what she's done. Until she's admitted that she's wrong. Admitted that she's wrong and repented for it on her knees. She does not deserve him. She needs to get out. And yet, this is going to be a love happy ending. They're going to end up together. It's going to be, because it's a romance, and you know they're going to end up together in the end. All I care about is in the in-between stuff. Is she going to properly repent for what she's done, or is he going to take all the blame right through the ending? Which is it going to be?